everyone, we are back with another round of Turing Mock Interview series. I'm Jose, a tech lead at Turing, and I'm from Montreal, Canada, and today I'll be interviewing Romulo for the role of an experienced TypeScript developer. Okay, and before you put in the comments that the questions are easy or hard, these questions were selected for YouTube purpose. Okay, if you come to Turing interview, you might get different question in your interview. All right, so without further ado, let's get started this interview. First of all, hi Romulo, how are you doing and how is your day doing so far?
Hey, Jose. Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm doing great. Great. How are you?
Nice, I'm doing great as well. I'm preparing for the winter. The winter is coming. It's snowboard season. It's almost up and I'll be there for sure. And thank you for asking, by the way. So let's hear a little bit from you, Romulo. Could you please introduce yourself and tell me a little bit about your background, okay, your professional experience, then I'll take from there.
Sure. So I am a software engineer currently based in Brazil. And I have around 6 years of experience with front-end development specifically. And I have worked mostly focused on React applications, I would say. Yeah, that's pretty much it on my experience.
Nice. All right. Could you please tell me a little bit about some interesting projects that you have been working with TypeScript?
Sure. I have worked on quite a few different interesting projects, such as e-commerce websites for retail companies in the US and in Brazil as well. I have done some work on online business platforms. And most recently, I am working on a no-code, low-code tools for API engineers.
All right. Okay. So my first question, what is TypeScript?
Okay, so TypeScript is basically a programming language, right? So it's a programming language that was developed by Microsoft that adds some nice features on top of JavaScript, such as new syntax and types. Yeah, that's basically it in a short sentence.
Nice, nice. And what is your, what do you have in mind about TypeScript? Do you like TypeScript or you hate TypeScript? Because I have seen this so far. Okay, people that like and hate TypeScript. Which one are you?
There was a time long ago that I used to hate it, I have to be honest, but today I just love it because, well, JavaScript is not strongly typed, right? So it's kind of difficult sometimes to get, like, to figure out what types of data are being passed around in your code. And that can lead to all sorts of bugs, right? So that's one of the cases in which TypeScript comes in handy. So it's mostly a matter of adding more quality to your code and shipping less bugs into production, and also developing with more speed, I would say. So yeah, I love it.
Nice. And I'm a big fan of TypeScript as well. Okay, so all right. So now let's talk about TypeScript. Okay. In your understanding, what are the different components in TypeScript?
Okay, so the different components are, so first I would say the language itself, because I think it's like the most important part that developers face when they encounter TypeScript, right? Because we have new syntax, new keywords that allow us to write types in TypeScript, okay? So this is the first. So second, I would say the compiler, because, well, browsers and some JavaScript engines, they don't really understand TypeScript, right? So for us to be able to actually write in TypeScript and run that on the internet, we need compilers to get all the TypeScript code and transpile this and compile it to JavaScript so that browsers and other engines can understand. And last but not least, and this is one of my favorites, like the language service behind TypeScript. And this language server usually comes embedded in some code editors like the VS Code and Visual Code Studio as well. So is this very powerful service that keeps parsing your TypeScript code and show you some auto completion, show you some errors during development time. So yeah, so I think this is the last and very cool component as well of the language.
Nice, nice. So why should we use TypeScript in your understanding?
First of all, I would say that we should use it because it really adds more quality to your code, because there's tons of very small bugs that we can ship into production just by not having a strictly typed language, right? So this is one. And second, I would say, again, because of the TypeScript language service, it's really magical sometimes to write in TypeScript, because it feels like your IDE, it fully understands what you're doing. So it keeps reading from all different files, trying to understand what you're trying to write. So it gives very nice auto completion and make sure that you're not messing things around while you are writing in TypeScript when compared to JavaScript. Well, there's a bit of a learning curve in the beginning, which is okay. But another thing is that you can write TypeScript together with JavaScript. So while you're learning TypeScript, you can actually learn it progressively, right? You don't need to get all of your application and turn it into TypeScript at once. You can do it slowly. So that's very nice.
Nice. All right. Okay, thank you for sharing. So next question for you is, what are the access modifiers supported by TypeScript?
Okay, so the access modifiers are 3. So we have the public, which is the default. So every time you define a class parameter or a method, it's public by default, which means that all other classes and parts of your code can access this method or this property. So the second access modifier is the private, which means that only the class that holds that parameter or the method can access it. And third is the protected access modifier. So it works quite similarly to the private one, but when you have a protected method, for example, the class itself can access it, and also all the subclasses can access it as well. So if you have a class that inherit from another class, that can use your protected methods as well, but that's not available to the outside.
Okay.
So those are the 3.
Okay. So what type did TypeScript add to JavaScript?
So we have, of course, all the primitive types that JavaScript has, right? Which are string, numbers, Boolean, objects, and so on. So all the types that are already in JavaScript are in TypeScript as well. But TypeScript has some new exclusive types, I would say, which are tuples and also types that you can define within your code. So you can define types that are made out of other primitive types. And you also have interfaces as well that can be used as a type kind of thing, but they work a little bit differently. So yeah, that's basically
nice. Then I have 2 follow-up questions for you, okay? So you mentioned types and you mentioned interface, okay? And you mentioned also primitive types. So I'm going to ask you about generic types. But before that, I would like to ask you, what are the difference between, let's say, an interface and a type? And when should we use an interface and when should we use a type?
Okay, so TypeScript types are basically types that you create for your variables or your objects. And they are more strict in a way that I cannot extend them. I cannot use them together with other types. So yeah, that's pretty much what type in TypeScript is all about. but we also have interfaces, which is a way that you can define the type of your data, like, right? So I can say that I have a object that is of interface, I don't know, car, but that interface can be extended as well. So I can create another interface or a class that extends an interface. And I can also do some operations with interfaces as well, like adding interfaces together and that sort of thing. So that's basically the difference.
Nice. But now we can extend from types as well. Okay.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, we can do that. But okay, my next question is regarding types. Okay. What are generic types in TypeScript?
So generics in TypeScript are basically ways that you can pass types as variables to other types. So for example, let's say that I'm creating a fetching function, right? So fetching functions, usually they return promises, but that doesn't really tell me what type of data is coming from that promise. So that's a very useful case for generic types in TypeScript. So I can create a function that returns a promise, and that returning type can have a generic type as a variable. So I can say, for example, that I'm calling this fetching function, and that fetching function will return me a promise of a list of names, for example. So that's a usage example of generic types in TypeScript.
Okay, and what do you understand about structural typing in TypeScript?
Structural typing is a kind of a concept that means that while you are comparing types in a language, the way that it compares it is that it only assess the members of that type. So let's say that I have a type called car and another type called vehicle, and those two types have only one parameter member, which is let's say the number of wheels of type number. So if I have a variable of type car and another variable of type vehicle, I can interchangeably assign one to another, and that's fine, because even though they are of different types, the structure of that object is the same, so they can be assigned to each other. Some other languages don't allow you to do that. So that's basically what structured typing is all about.
Nice. All right. So next question is related to private fields. Okay. Could you please let me know a few rules of the private fields in TypeScript?
Okay, so private fields are fields that are uniquely scoped in the containing class. So different from protected methods or private methods, private fields cannot in any case be accessed from the outside, and cannot be accessed as well from like subclasses. And private fields are very particular to TypeScript as well, because the way that the compiler compiles your code using private fields makes it unaccessible even by JavaScript. So it's like a all hidden thing in your TypeScript class.
Okay, and this one is tricky. Okay, so how to choose between never, null, and any in TypeScript?
Okay, that one is tricky indeed. Well, first of all, the never type is when you want to objectively say that a variable will never have a type and should never have a type. So that's when you use never. And then we have unknown and any. They kind of behave similarly. So, but the key difference there is that any doesn't do any type checking, basically. So let's say that I have a variable of type any. I can assign every data to that variable that I'll not get an error. While if you use the unknown type, it means that that variable has some sort of type. So let's say it's either a string or unknown. So if you try to assign something different, it will give you an error. So that's basically it.
All right, but I'm a bit confused, okay? So any, we can assign any type there, right? And for example, if you assign an integer to any, and then try to assign an object or a string, is that possible?
Oh,
change the type, I mean.
Oh yeah, so if you change the type, I don't think it's possible. I'm not sure there, but I would say that it's not possible because after you do the first assignment, JavaScript understands that variable of that type, and then it will not let you assign something different. I would say I'm not 100% sure, but
okay, but all right. Then I will ask you the same question for never. Okay, if I declare a variable and say the type is never. Okay, if I assign an integer, can I assign a string? I mean after?
I would say no, that you would have an error.
Okay. I will ask this question for our audience, okay? Do you agree? Because when you come to the interview, I expect, okay, I don't expect you to know every question, okay, every answer, and that's okay if you don't know, okay? It makes sense because sometimes you are most familiar with this, but not with that, and totally fine, okay, if you don't answer all the question. Cool. All right, so next question. Could you please explain when to use declare keyword in TypeScript?
Okay, so TypeScript has this special keyword declared that is useful in some cases for when TypeScript itself doesn't know the type of a certain method or variable, or the library you're importing from doesn't have types. So let's say that I'm calling a sum function from my library, but that library doesn't have types. So TypeScript doesn't have any way to figure out what's the parameters types that function receives or the type of the returning object. So we can basically use this declare keyword to declare the types for that library so that TypeScript will not like screen errors at you. So that's basically the usage of it.
Basically, it will let you pass, right? And yes. Then you killed my next question, because I would have a follow-up question that would be if it's possible to generate types declarations from a JS library, but you mentioned, yeah, you can declare that, right, before. What are ambients in TypeScript and when should we use them?
I think I'll have to let that one to the audience as well, because I never worked with that and I have no idea.
Okay, all right, that we'll ask this question for our audience as well, okay? So, if you are watching this video and you are familiar with TypeScript, okay, what are ambients in TypeScript and when should we use them? Please let me know in the comment section below, okay? And as that said, that was my last question, okay? I would like to thank you, Romulo. That was an interesting conversation with you and I hope to see you again in the future, okay?
Sure, thank you. Thank you for having me again. It was really nice talking to you and talking about TypeScript. Yeah, and I hope you guys enjoy it.
All right, so as that said, that's a wrap from our side. Okay, if you have any query, okay, you can email us at support@turing.com. Okay, and they will try to reply your message at least at the same day. Okay, give us a big fat thumbs up right now. Okay, just pressing the this thumbs up below. It's free, okay? If you are not subscribed to our channel, go ahead, click in the red button below. It's free, it's easy, and it's quickly. So if you want to find jobs and work remotely for US companies, go to Turing.com. It's less jobs, and apply for the job that are suitable for your tech stack. If you don't have account, I really encourage you to create an account. It's also free, easy, and quickly. Okay, as that said, that's a wrap. Thank you for watching. Keep tuning for the next Turing video, and let me know in the comment section below what you think about this and what kind of video you would like to see in the upcoming video. Till then, stay safe, keep learning, and I hope to see you all again. Take care.